want to pray?
Yeah. Lord, thank you so much for this time. Thank you for this group of pastors, Lord, that are ministering and pastoring their cities. Lord, I ask that you would help us make the most of our time. I just invite you to be a part of it. Guide our discussion. Lord, help us to really provide wisdom and insight, Lord, in community. Lord, and I pray for blessing and protection on everyone here, their family, their staff. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right. So, man, let's kind of dive in here. I'm going to share a couple of things with you guys. One of them is going to be my 5-part framework for how to narrow your message and reach more people. I want to get to that real quick. But first, I just wanted to, it's pretty cool. I don't even know if I can show the text. Caleb sent me a text. He sent it to our whole team this week, but I was pretty pumped. So I was literally, I took my wife on a little vacation. We went down actually to the Dallas area, went to Fort Worth, got an Airbnb and just hung out, kind of reconnected for like 4 days. And it's cool because I was walking around downtown Fort Worth, just hanging, had lunch at the Cheesecake Factory. We're just kind of chilling and having a great day. And all of a sudden I got a ding on my phone from a message here. And it was from Caleb. Let me see if I can find it here. And I'll show it to you guys. Hold up to the camera. Cause I was pretty pumped. This made my day. Just so you guys get to see, this is the kind of stuff we get to. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Hold this up to the camera. If you guys can see that, it just says, Jordan Rowe has led 5 people to Christ in 2 weeks because of the ads he started 2 weeks ago. Right. So, Jordan, I don't know if you're on here. You're a freaking stud if you are. But I was just pumped. So literally just walking around on vacation and got that text. And I was like, man, praise God. Like, that's what we're talking about. Like, literally started 2 weeks ago. He's already led 5 people to Christ. And it's pretty awesome. I mean, that's why we do this. It's why we come to this office every single day and constantly innovate and work with guys like you guys trying to figure out, because at the end of the day, man, we're not trying to reach you guys. We're trying to reach the people in your city, right? It's why we do this. We want to reach those guys, and we need you guys to partner with to do this kind of stuff. We wouldn't have been able to get those guys saved, but Jordan could. And so that's kind of why we do this and why we get so pumped. So, all right, if you guys have a question, we'll get to questions here in just a couple of minutes. First, I want to go over it. This is a very simple 5-part framework. But this is something that I see churches missing a lot. So I wanted to share it with you guys here to kind of talk. I think it's going to help, especially as you're crafting some of your messaging. This isn't just for Facebook ads. In fact, a lot of this will be on your website, or if you end up doing postcards for Easter, or for us, we did a bunch of social media graphics. And in fact, I'll even show you after I presented the framework, I'll show you guys a couple of graphics we created based on when we used this when I was on staff at Guts. Which can you pull up your, I texted them to you, so they're in your text messages. So I'll show them here in just a second, but let me show this framework, and then we'll kind of dive in. So here's basically what it is, the 5-part framework, and it's super simple. Make sure I'm still in the camera. There's 5 parts. The first one, see, here's the biggest problem that churches make is they think, okay, we want to be a church for everyone. And so they say, hey guys, we're a church for everyone. But the problem is when you try to talk to everyone, you actually reach no one. Okay. And so what I mean is that type, like, no one says, man, I'm just looking for a church that reaches everybody. Right. And then they're like, oh, a church for everyone. Perfect. That's me. Now, the problem is every single church in the world says, hey, we're a church for everyone, right? Like, man, we've got something for all ages. It's actually bullcrap. It doesn't mean that you don't have ministries for all ages. Of course you do, right? But there's a certain type of person that is your sweet spot that you reach really, really well. And so leaning into that and learning who that is and narrowing down your messaging will actually help you reach more people. It sounds counterintuitive, but if you literally talk to one person and you write all of your messaging to that one person, you'll actually reach a ton more people. For example, one of the things that we did, we were trying to reach young families, and we're going to go deeper than that, but we were trying to reach young families at my church when I was on staff a couple of years ago. So what I would do is in writing to that and creating the customer avatar, which I'm about to show you how to do, we would talk to one person, right? Somebody who was married with kids. But what would happen is we actually reached empty nesters, right? Because actually empty nesters love going to a church where there's a bunch of young kids running around and stuff like that, right? They remember that age. They love being around kids. It reached grandparents because grandparents have young kids, right? It's their grandkids, but they want to go to a church that's helping reach their grandkids. But then it also reached millennials and Gen Z, people who weren't married with kids yet, because guess what? They want to go to a church that has a bunch of kids for when they do settle down and get married and have kids. So by narrowing it down to just one type of person and speaking to them, we actually ended up hitting all these other generations, these other demographics. But by just saying like, hey, we've got something for everyone, we actually water down the message and it doesn't actually hit anyone. All right, so here's the framework. It's pretty simple. The first one is what you're going to do is you're going to create. They call it in the business world. They call this a customer avatar, right? So basically, what you want to do, Rick Warren at Saddleback calls this Saddleback Sam, right? So they have Saddleback Sam. They know everything there is to know about Saddleback Sam. You basically want to figure out. Step one is this a guy or a girl? Okay, male or female is the very first thing that you want to figure out. Personally, this is totally up to you guys. Personally, I recommend starting with the male, and you can actually do both if you'd like to. Like at Rick Warren's church, they have Saddleback Sam and Saddleback Sally, right? But I recommend starting with the male. The reason is this. If you, most churches reach women really, really well. And when women come in, they don't necessarily bring their husbands with them, even though they try. But almost 100% of the time, if you reach the men and they come in, then they bring their wives with them, right? So I recommend trying to figure out, okay, first off, is it a male or female? Secondly, you want to figure out their marital status. Are they married? Are they single? Are they divorced? Right? Like, are they remarried? What exactly is their marital status in those? So now, so let's say you decide to do, number one, you're going to do a male and he's married. Okay, perfect. So number three is his age. How old is this guy? Well, talk to some churches will say, oh yeah, we're really trying to reach people between 25 and 45. Right? But those are two completely different people. Like the problems that you have when you're 25 years old are a world away from the problems you have when you're 45 years old. Right? And so you want to narrow it down and pick an age. Just say, okay, what is it who's kind of our bread and butter, who we're currently reaching and we really want to reach, and it's kind of the perfect person to fit here. Right? So so for this example, let's say it's a 35-year-old married man. Okay, now we know 35. Does he have kids? Say, yeah, average person in our church being 35 probably has 3 kids. So let's say 3 kids, and they're elementary school age, right? So they're probably like 5, 7, and 9 would be right. So now we know a lot about this dude. The fact that he's married, he's 35 years old. He's a dude, and he's got 3 kids, or 5, 7, and 9. We can already start to guess at some of the things that he's going through in his life, which brings us to finally the fifth part, which is just what's keeping him up at night, right? So I like to give the guy a name, because that makes it a little bit more personal, right? So let's, for the sake of this, let's just call this guy Gary, right? Guts Gary. My name of my church that I go to is called Guts Church, right? So we'll call this Guts Gary. And Gary's a 35-year-old married man who has 3 kids, ages 9, 7, and 5, right? And what's keeping him up at night, I would say, is probably money. Right? Like money and marriage are probably the 2 things that are really, like, his marriage isn't awesome. He and his wife, they don't hate each other, but they're also not going through like the honeymoon's over. They got 3 kids. He's got all the pressure of trying to be the sole breadwinner. Right? And then the deeper you can go into that last question, what keeps him up at night, that's going to be where all the gold is. Because literally you can start to figure out, like, okay, what's keeping him like his marriage? Okay, what specifically about his marriage? Well, ever since the 3rd baby came and they had to switch from a man-on-man defense to a zone defense, right? Like, now you got 3 kids and 2 parents. It's getting a little crazy, right? There's extra pressures that are going with that. Well, what kind of pressures? Well, man, like he had to pick up some extra shifts at work because, man, it costs more to have 3 kids, right? Like now, like, because his wife is at this point where she's so involved with the kids that she doesn't have an adult conversation throughout the course of the day. So by the time he gets home, all she does is kind of dump on him, because she hasn't talked to a grown-up in 8 hours, right? About everything that's going on throughout the day. And although she doesn't mean to, she just dumps all the crap that happened all day long, right? Little Johnny, like threw up, whatever. I think he's got the flu. Eli had to come home from school, whatever, because he's got an ear infection. And then Sally's got ballet, but it got canceled, but then it got rescheduled. We got a carpool, right? Like all that different stuff. But literally writing those things down and just saying, okay, here it is. His name's Gary. He's 35-year-old married man. He's got 3 kids. Here are the ages of his kids. Here are the names of his kids. Here's what grades they're in. Here's what keeps him up at night. And literally starting to write those things out. What types of thoughts he's having in his marriage, right? Writing out, like, what types of websites does he go to? What blogs does he read? Does he read blogs? Does he listen to podcasts? What's he do for fun? What type of movies does he watch? What type of books does he read, right? Like, man, what are his friends like? Where does he work? And the deeper you can kind of go into that and figuring out what exactly makes him tick and what's keeping him up at night, that's all the gold. Then when you write your messaging, even if it's your Easter messaging, write to Gary. right exactly to that one guy, and then you know exactly what you're doing. So when we did this at my church, the avatar was a 35-year-old. I just told him to you basically. It was a 35-year-old married man who had 3 kids. He played football all growing up. Right, it was a pretty tough guy. Doesn't share his feelings a lot. He's blue collar. He's got a good blue collar job. He might even own a blue collar business, right? Like a sheetrock company or something like that. So he's got to deal with businesses and managing employees and all that kind of stuff. And he's bringing home some money, but not great money. And so what we did is we had a men's meeting coming up. We said, okay, what would Gary come to? Right. So
Sure.
yeah, can we share these real quick? I'll show you guys real quick the messaging and graphics that I crafted. Now that you guys kind of know Gary, and we went a lot deeper, right? But no, this is a rough guy who played football growing up, loves college football, diehard Oklahoma OU fan, right? Loves like football and tough and weightlifting and that kind of stuff. So actually, go to the Tulsa men's event one first. Let's do that one. Here we go. Okay. So this is one, right? We just said, hey, this is the Tulsa men's event. Instead of calling it our church event, we wanted it to feel like, hey, it's open to the entire city. So we called it the Tulsa men's event. So, hey, Pastor Bill Scheer hosts U.S. Navy SEAL Jeff Bromstadt, Thursday, February 8th, 6:30 p.m. Now that's obviously very, very brief. There's not a lot there, but what we did is we specifically crafted this to speak to Gary. Right? Like I was just like, okay, Gary played football and it's kind of like rough and tumble. Like how can the graphics look? How can the messaging look that's going to reach Gary? And bringing in Navy SEAL is the type of guy that this guy's going to respect and listen to. Right? So some of the other social media images we took is we used that same theme and we grabbed this, right? The more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in combat. And then we had a little bit more about the event. We took this is actually from his Navy SEAL website. Right? We train for war and fight to win. My character and honor are steadfast. I am my brother's keeper. If I get knocked down, I will get up. I expect to lead and be led. My training is never complete. I'm prepared to defend the helpless. I control my emotions and actions. Uncompromising integrity is my standard. My word is my bond. I will accomplish the mission and I am never out of the fight. My fight against the enemy will be swift and violent. A common man with an uncommon desire to succeed, forged by adversity, legacy. I am that man. Right now, I just got chills reading that because I get excited because I'm Gary, basically, right? Like this speaks to me. And so for all the guys who are like Gary, right? Like there are not a lot of people who grew up like in the chess club who would see that and be like, wow, that looks awesome, right? But we weren't talking to those guys. We were talking to Gary. Right? We're talking to 35-year-old Gary, who we know what's keeping him up at night. He would see that and go, yes, I need to go hear that dude. Right? Because, and so the deeper you can go on that avatar, right? Like if he's patriotic or how does he feel about the government, right? Is he a Democrat? Is he a Republican? What does he view about church, right? Like, and we knew all of those things for Gary. So we knew exactly how to speak to him. And we crafted all of our invites around that. And then we basically gave these digital invites to all the guys in the church and they were able to text them to their friends. So it wasn't just like, hey, invite your buddies. It was, hey, here's some freaking cool graphics that look awesome and are going to speak to guys like you and make it easy for you to invite them to the Tulsa men's event. So the cool thing was we ended up having at our previous men's event, we averaged about 150 people. And my pastor told me I had to get 1,000 to this event, which I told him was ridiculous, but I accepted his challenge and said, I'll do it anyway. And we got just shy of 1,300. So it was a massive, huge event full of men. And we reached out from all over the city, but it was because we got very, very specific on the messaging that we used. So I hope that helps a little bit. Yeah, we got some questions. So let's dive in here.
Specifically about what you just said.
Where is it? 33, 3.5 kids, and the majority of my kids.
Anthony, do you want a chance to read your questions so that we can, for anybody watching a replay, they can hear what you asked? I'm going to unmute you. You there, Anthony?
Yeah. Hey, buddy.
Yeah. So go ahead. I know you put it in the chat here, Anthony, but just expand on the question a little bit more here for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I planted my church about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And we're running in the 50s. And in this area, we see a lot of single divorced women and not very strong spiritual leadership from the men.
Okay.
And a lot of the couples we have coming are 45 and older. But like I said, I'm 33. My wife is in her 30s. We're about to have our 4th kid, and we have hardly any young families.
Okay.
So if I start gearing towards young families and going after that, which I kind of do now, am I going to see a backlash from the people who have been faithful for the last 2 years that don't really fit that criteria of what we're trying to do now?
Okay, so great question. And the short answer is no. Like, so you shouldn't see a backlash because all you're changing is your messaging, right? So you're not saying like, hey, are you 35 and married with 3 kids, right? Like then you might see a backlash. People are like, no, like I'm 48. What are you talking about, bro? Right? But just knowing that of exactly who that avatar is in your head and knowing what that person is, then whenever you crap, like the reason we brought in the Navy SEALs because we're like, okay, based on the guy we're trying to reach, who's the best person to reach him, right? And so because we knew he's a diehard OU fan and loves football, our next one after this, we brought in Bob Stoops, right? Who's like Hall of Fame OU coach.
Chris, you know who he is, right? You remember?
Yeah, Chris, you're a diehard OU fan, I'm sure. Big fan of Bob Stoops. Well, so like, right. So a lot of people on this call may have no idea who Bob Stoops is, but Gary does, right? Like the guys that we're trying to reach are like, Bob Stoops is coming to your church to talk, right? Like, and they're like moving heaven and earth to make sure they're having people drove from out of state to come hear him speak, right?
Son of Guts is, I mean, it's located in an area of Tulsa, so it's practically that's the guy living nearby too, right? Blue collar.
Yeah, blue collar. But you know, what's funny is because we put this type of messaging out, we have people drive from 30 minutes away. And they drive past in Tulsa, they drive past 300 churches on the way there, right? To get to Guts. But again, it's because we're very specific about the messaging that we put out and who we're trying to reach. But because we do that, we actually reach guys who aren't like never dreamed of being Navy SEALs and stuff like that, right? Like there were other people who totally would. So it was because we got razor sharp on our and had razor sharp clarity on our messaging and who we were trying to reach that we attracted that guy. But then we also attracted, I mean, there were guys in their 80s who were there, who were like pumped. I mean, like we had so many guys who had there was a couple of guys who had World War II hats on and several guys who were like Vietnam veterans and stuff. Right. Like, so we didn't just reach the 35-year-old men. We reached everybody.
Reach the women who they think if they think their husband would be interested, you're going to reach that woman.
Yep. And I'll tell you, that's kind of a side note. We won't go into it, but I did. Most people were like, okay, cool. So you just targeted men. I'm like, nope, I actually targeted men and women because in this case, I know it's not just the men that are going to come. I know that women are going to see this and be like, what? There's a Navy SEAL coming to Guts Church. And then they're going to go, babe, come here. There's a Navy SEAL coming to Guts Church. And they're going to bug their husband to go because they know their husband might actually go to church to go hear a Navy SEAL. Whereas when I ran them for women events, I excluded men completely because no dude is going to go like, babe, I was cruising Facebook. And did you know that I don't even know. Taylor Swift is coming to Guts Church and she's going to be speaking to all the women, right? Like guys wouldn't even stop the scroll on that, right? So you know, there's a couple of things that
I'm going to block you if that was the case.
What's that? Okay, yeah. So if that answers your question, right? It's just specifically in your messaging, so you make sure that all your messaging is talking to that guy, right? Like, yeah, and that's going to help, right? Even the types of events that you might do, like if you're trying to reach 35-year-old guys who have elementary school age kids, you might do like a parents' night out. Right? Like, hey, like, man, ladies are you sneaking off during the day to get 4 seconds alone in the dark of the pantry, like eating goldfish without, so that the kids aren't bugging you, right? Like, and moms would be like, yes, I do sneak off into the pantry to eat goldfish just to get a quiet moment, right? It's like, man, you just need a night out. Come on out to Guts Church for a parents' night out. Drop your kids off and you'll have 3 full hours to go out and blah, blah, like whatever it is, right? But now you know that you're talking now specifically you'd be trying to get to Gary's wife doing that, right? But it's because you have razor sharp clarity on who you're trying to reach.
What were the 5 minutes just quickly so we can revisit that for them?
Yep. So first off is male or female. Secondly is their age. How old are they? Number 3 is what's their marital status? Married, divorced, remarried, single. And then do they have kids? Yes or no? And if so, how many? And then finally, what keeps them up at night? And again, number 5 is where all the gold is, right? Like what keeps them up at night? The more you can go in on that, right? The more you can figure out, okay, like, man, what's he doing for a living? Well, he started his own business, right? Like, man, he's got a drywall business. Okay, great. What comes with starting a drywall business, right? So he's in a blue collar area, but he's kind of white collar because he actually owns this business, right? But he's probably, man, is he B2B? Is he B2C? How many employees does he have? right? Like, man, what's keeping him up at night? Is it HR? Is it payroll? Man, is he worried that he's not going to be able to pay his employees? Or maybe he's been paying his employees, but he hasn't taken a paycheck in 6 months, and that's causing massive debt and problems in his marriage, right? But once you know those things, then you can craft messaging around it. And then again, this is for Facebook ads, it's for social media posts, it's for your website, it could be for direct mail, even though I throw up in my mouth just talking about direct mail at all. Right. But there's so many different things that you can use this for, but it's your messaging when you're trying to reach those people, just getting razor sharp clarity on who it is that you're trying to reach. So male or female. So I guess basically sex, age, marital status, kids, and what keeps them up at night.
Awesome. I'd love to hear what you have to say about direct mailers, because I was actually about to order some, and I'm totally against it, but everybody in my area says go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I have really strong opinions about direct mail, right? I think and the reason is, I mean, what in life has an acceptable rate of return of 0.5%, right, or 1/4%, whatever they're saying now. I mean, and here's it, like, just in the last 10 years, the amount of direct mail that Americans receive in the last 10 years has doubled. And it's become an epidemic. It's so bad that apartment complexes started putting out massive plastic trash cans, like huge trash bins, just for people in the mailroom to be able to throw away all their direct mail because they were sick of it just littering the floor of all these apartment complexes. So, you could go out there and you could spend 10 or 20 grand on a mailer, but it's basically like just saying, like, here you go, sir, you throw this away. Right. So I don't like it. I think it's much more effective to put that money and invest it into social media marketing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Do we have any other questions specifically about Facebook ministry ads or anything like that? Anything you guys are kind of facing and looking at here?
Yeah, Chris, do you hear me?
Yeah. Bogdan, what's up, man?
Hey, question for you. On the initial prayer Facebook ad, you guys sent a cheat sheet, and there was 2 videos in there.
Yeah.
That a lady narrated for like 25 minutes. It was like a training on like guests, how to assimilate guests and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, those 2 YouTube videos. So is it possible for us to get the slide deck from those YouTube videos? Because I'd like to do the same training with my staff.
It's a good question.
Like, I want to show them that entire video.
Yeah. So I let's see. I paid Katie to do those a while back. I don't know if we have the slide deck. I'll check. And if I don't, I'll try to reach out to Katie and see if she still has them. I'm not sure if she will or not, but yeah.
Awesome.
Good question, Bogdan.
Otherwise, I'll just have to screenshot. I'll have to screenshot every single slide, so it'd be easier if you just have a deck that can email to me.
You could share the link, the cheat sheet link.
Yeah, you can share the cheat sheet link to them and have them go through it if you wanted, or you can even watch it together. We've actually had a bunch of churches do that, where they'll literally just show it up on a big TV and get all their team together and just watch it.
Yeah, we will. We will do that, but it would be good to also have the deck, because then we can pass the deck out. We're already going to watch that 25-minute video, but the deck would be nice to have, the actual printed one.
Okay, yeah, I'll see if I can get it. See, Douglas, you had a question about
Thank
the
you.
vault. So, Douglas, this is actually specific. We're talking about Facebook ministry ads, which is something different. But shoot me an email and I'll see if I can get you some of that here.
And Douglas, the YouTube video she's talking about, it is in the vault.
Yeah, and you're asking about free. So new content unlocks in the vault every single month. So like every 25 or 30 days, it unlocks the next month.
Hey, Chris, do you want to ask your question?
Texas Chris. I don't know if there's any other Chris's on the phone.
Chris Wolf. I don't like the negative connotation.
Okay. Now, just checking here. Okay, so a couple things. First of all, my question, which I didn't have coming on the call because I didn't know you were going to talk about the 5-process avatar. On the avatar, okay, basically the concept applies in any ad, but my question is this: can I adjust? So let's say, for example, I want to reach 35, married with 3 kids this round, but later on I want to, as you were saying, for men, that's one direction. For women, it's another, because a church in some sense is reaching everyone, but to your point, from a marketing perspective, it's ineffective to reach for everyone. So does the principle apply, in other words, to any given direction. So if we want to market to somebody today, we do that. And as we see success in that area, potentially we can always adjust that. Not so much the avatar, but the create a new one or create a new ad space. Is that kind of what you're saying about that?
So let me make sure I understand your question. You're not talking about the messaging. Are you talking about the actual targeting on the ad itself?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so let me give you an example. First thing, and that would jump me into a question about one of the ads. Like, so we just started, we've had it running maybe, 72 hours or something like that. And the first thing I notice is we're getting a ton of women to respond, very few men. So as an example, and one of the questions I had, which is piggybacking on that, is we set it up, and this might be for the personal touch, but we're setting it up for, I'm personally going to pray for every one of your needs. But I have a group of people who I'm running through this process to try to get ready and prepared to answer the comments. And, so is the, I'm going to do it personally, is that the personal touch that draws them in? Or is that something we can adjust on the template that, means I've got 2 or 3 people who are ready to meet your need? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I think it's as easy as this. Like, this is how we do. Is like when we were running this at my church, we would just like in staff meeting, like we would just pray for God. We just pray for every single prayer request that's coming in. Right. Sometimes we'd print them out and just kind of pray over the paper. We'd just take time as a staff praying over those. Right. Like even, and the people on the prayer team would just spend time like, man, God, sometimes we call on each one by name, but sometimes just praying over those. And then what we did is every single person. So the personal part, like the personal part that you're talking about is a big deal. Like, hey, like they need to feel like they're having a conversation, right, with you as the pastor. But like saying like, hey, I'm going to be praying for her, right? I'm going to be praying for you personally. What we do is, as long as someone is praying for them personally, right? Like we just have them introduced. So like if it's someone on your prayer team, they can just, jump in and say like, hey, what's up? This is Samantha. I'm on the prayer team, like over here at Guts Church. And, I just wanted to reach out, right? Sometimes I say, hey, Pastor Chris just wanted me to reach out and I just wanted to pray for you in person. Or, hey, I just wanted to reach out. I want to pray for you in person. So let me pray for you. When they send the audio prayer, they can explain that it's them, and that way, like people aren't trying to like pretend to be you or anything like that. So it's totally acceptable to do that. But yeah, you want them feeling like they're sending it straight to you and not to like a nameless, faceless kind of.
Okay. So that brings me to the next question in the response process. So we've already talked about, me and my staff have talked about using the bot flow text responses and just copying those to insert manually, right? As an example. So like when somebody doesn't follow the flow, which is pretty often, they don't hit the right buttons at the right time, et cetera. What we've done is I've manually inserted, hey, we're having service at 6 o'clock and can you come? I've just copied the text from the original bot, meaning from other comments, right? Yeah. So, but what we haven't had yet is we haven't had somebody specifically plan a visit. And so because of that, I haven't seen the rest of the comment and the thread. So where do I access, I think you did a video on this, but where do I access the flow so that we can insert manual template as needed? Like you said, the whole point is creating conversation, jumping in. If they get stuck, jump in, engage them anyway. But to save us, we're personalizing it, but to save us retyping countless stuff, we're sending, I don't know, I'm hearing.
It should be muted now.
Okay, sorry, that's all right.
I think somebody was making a phone call.
Yeah, so in any way, Chris, what I'm saying is the bot flow, right? You guys have created the responses. Yeah. Because we haven't had anybody officially plan a visit, my question is, how do I access those responses so that my team has templates? Like, so if like Kristen, our director's at home on her computer replying, she can just copy from Word or whatever she's doing and send the manual to plan a visit. Because we don't know how to, like a few of them have said, yeah, we might come, we might not, or can't come yet. But because they didn't maybe say yes, it's not sending a plan your visit. So how do I initiate, as an example, a plan your visit where they click it and now we're, I mean, I don't know how to do that and I don't know where to access that.
Yeah, so it's pretty easy. All you need to do is, if you're manually talking to people, all I would worry about, so the plan your visit just basically has them go through and they just confirm like their name, email, and phone number. right? And Facebook knows that, so they just pull it in, they click on it to confirm it. If you were doing it manually, I would just get someone's phone number, right? So just say like, hey, would you like to come out on this Sunday? Right. And just say, okay, great. Just like, okay, great. Hey, what's the best number to text you? We'll text you a reminder on Saturday. Right. And then just get them to send their number. Right. And if, and then that way you've got their number and you can just text them manually on Saturday, or someone from your team. Like that's what we do, is like we have, like at Guts, we had one girl like who literally just goes in and she would just text every single person saying, hey, what's up? This is Katie. Really excited about meeting you tomorrow. Just make sure to get here about 15 minutes early. Right. And that kind of stuff. So that's all I would do, is if you walk them through plan your visit, just ask them like, okay, great. Hey, we'll send you a confirmation text on Saturday, just reminding you of the address and the service times. What's the best number to send that text to?
Okay. And then I got one final question on this thought, and then I'll turn it over. And, we have more questions now because we're brand new than we hopefully will have 3 weeks from now, because we're getting in the flow. So, this is a simple one, but on the mini chat, okay, what I'm seeing is the profile picture that's showing up is mine from my personal Facebook page, not the ministry's page. Is that because when I click the link and I click sign in with Facebook, is that why it's doing that?
Are you talking about in the ad itself?
No, I'm saying no. So on the ad you created, it shows Remnant Church.
Right.
Okay. When I'm replying to people in mini chat on like the live chats, it shows my personal profile picture with my kids on it as an example. It's not showing Remnant Church's profile. And so what I'm saying is, if we have 4 or 5 people hitting the live chat from Remnant Church, but for whatever reason it's showing my personal, it's identifying me as coming from my personal page. Is that because I logged in with Facebook and I didn't create a total new login? And if I didn't do that correct, how do I go back and do that? Because I want our people, I'd like to have 3 or 4 people replying and everybody feels like it's coming directly from the church, not from like somebody's personal page. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the short answer is this: ManyChat's going to pull in whoever is logged in there, because everyone has their own login, and pull it in that way. If you do it through the Facebook page app, right, which is like a little, it's you can download it on your iPhone or Android, and you go through the Facebook page app, then all the responses are going to come from the church page, no matter who's in there doing it. So I'd recommend just doing it that way, and just logging in the Facebook page app and sending all the audio.
So not using ManyChat, using Facebook Messenger, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, to solve the problem that you're doing. If you don't want it to be coming from your personal profile.
If I redo my login, right, and create a login in ManyChat for Remnant Church, would that solve the problem? Or
I don't think so, because you have to have a personal profile to log in with.
Okay, that's what it is. That's what I was asking. Did I do it right by signing in with Facebook, or I just did that as the shortcut alternative to creating an account. I didn't know. Okay, I didn't know you had to do that. So that makes sense.
You did it right. You did it. Yeah, you did it right.
All right. Okay. All right.
Okay. Perfect.
That's it.
Hey, Chris, I had a quick question.
Yeah. What's up, Douglas?
Yeah, so we've been running our ads for about a month now, and like our demographics are open to everyone, but it's been interesting that most of the ad responders, if not 90% of them, have all been one demographic, been like middle-aged Black men and women versus people from different, racial backgrounds. We're in a very diverse area, and I've had very few people who are non-Black to respond. It's not an issue. I'm just curious.
So no, but it's typically, here's what happens is basically whatever you put out is what you attract. Right. So yep. There's a church here called Transformation Church, right? That is known for being a multicultural church. Pastor Mike Todd, like he's crushing it right now. Incredible guy, incredible pastor. But one of the things like first took over the church, like he basically went to his church and said, hey, we're predominantly African-American, like 98%. And he said, we want to reach people of all, races and colors and ages and all kinds of stuff. So what they did was they literally went out and they started putting out pictures on social media and pictures on their Facebook ads and pictures on their website of, right. Like, and at the time it was like, okay, man, somebody find a white person, right? Find like an Asian, and then let's get everybody in here. And then they would take pictures with everybody in there. So they were putting out what they wanted to attract. Right. And it was like, but it was actually people in their church. They weren't like grabbing like a stock image or something like that. Right. But it was interesting. I heard him talking to I spoke at a conference with one of some of their social media guys, and that was one of the things they talked about. They're like, hey, we literally had meetings on like, hey, how do we attract more non-Black people, right? Like, how do we do? And they said, and so this is what we did. And they said, we just for months, over and over and over, we just kept putting it out on Facebook, on Instagram, on our website, and they would just always do it, and they would stage their photos, right, and literally do that. Like, okay, now everybody start laughing, right? And then they take pictures of everybody laughing, but because they're like, man. But they said what happened is they started to do that. They just started to attract what they were putting out. And so now it's like every age, every race, every demographic you ever imagine. It just took time to do that.
Okay. So like what I was doing was kind of in that same vein. I intentionally had a Hispanic young lady and also a Caucasian young lady run some of our invite ads, and like they got very little responses. And when we did get responses, their cost per click was way up there compared to mine.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's probably going to happen for a while, right? It's just kind of pushing through that resistance, kind of getting through, just knowing like, okay, this is what we're naturally attracting, so we're going to go after some other people, right? It's the same thing if it was like an age thing. If you were like, man, everyone that we're reaching nothing but like empty nesters and retired people, but we really want to reach young families in their 20s and 30s, you just keep young people in their 20s and 30s, and it's going to take a while, right? Because you're trying to get the flywheel turning. That's not always what's naturally coming in. But if you just stick with it over time, then you can completely change that.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Aday here. I have a quick question.
Yeah, what's up, Aday?
So I actually two, but I sent one to Heather. So we were realizing that, I don't know if she shot it to you guys, that some of the interactions, the less interactions we have, the charge is a little bit more. Like when we started, it was like $1 per interaction, but then it's now like $3 or something per interaction. And for a small church, it may not be sustainable. So I was just wondering, is there a way to go about that? Can we change some settings so that it's attracting less people? Or my leadership wanted me to ask.
Okay, so what you're asking is like the classic like ads question of all time, right? Like basically like, hey, how do I reach more people for less money, right? So like they're like so the answer to your question specifically is there are ways to do that, but the bottom line is that when you first start off, it's always going to be lower, and then it's just going to like gradually it's going to be a little bit higher, but you're not getting charged per conversation. So like what I mean is some people think like, okay, it's $3 per conversation. So every time somebody responds, they're charging me another $3. That's not happening. What Facebook is saying is that you're saying, okay, we're spending $10 a day or $30 a day or whatever it is, right? And so if you're spending $30 a day in ads and you get 10 prayer requests that come in per day, right? Then Facebook's saying, hey, like, man, you're spending an average of $3 per conversation.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's not like Google AdWords where every time you click on it, you're paying whatever Google AdWords says. This is totally different. They're just showing you like your average. But again, none of that stuff matters. That's actually like the wrong, like it's the reason we don't even talk about those types of KPIs is because when you start tracking like how much am I paying per conversation or what's my CPM or my CPL and that type of stuff, like it's the wrong conversation. Like the right conversation is this working? Is this bringing in a steady stream of prayer requests every day? Are some of those people checking out our church, right? And if the answer is yes, then you just keep doing what you're doing and dump as much money into those Facebook ads as you can to reach more people, right? So that's why we don't talk about a lot of those types of KPIs or like your cost per conversation or anything, because it's the wrong conversation to have. At the end of the day, what you really want to be focused on is this working? How many people am I reaching, right? Because whatever you pay Facebook, that just says, hey, for every, if you give us $30 a day, we're going to show this to 2,000 people every day, right? Or 200 people, whatever they decide based on your audience size. And so that's how they're doing it, is they're just going to spend your daily budget and they'll show as many people as they can within that budget. So so the bottom line is basically just stay in the course and just keep it going. Don't worry about that. Just worry about whether or not those prayer requests are coming in steady every day and whether or not that's leading to people kind of visiting the church. And then once you've run it for about 60 days and you have all of your kind of baseline numbers, then you can start taking a look at some other stuff and tweaking a few things. But I would just keep going, man. Just stay strong, because some days are going to be bigger than others. Some weeks are going to be bigger than others. Just stay. Consistency is the number one key to success.
My next question actually goes back to Anthony's question. So for like 2 Sundays last week and then this Sunday, our pastor won't be at the church. There was a bigger ceremony someplace that he needs to go and needed to be at. And because the ad, we didn't want it to be disingenuous or fraud. Because the ads tell them you can come in, I can pray for you. If he's not there, we didn't turn it on. And this week we were just debating whether we should turn it on because we know Sunday he won't be there. But I feel like that's momentum we are losing. So is there a way to like change the ad so that I don't know. I guess it goes back to Pastor Anthony's question, so that it's not like, so come in, let me pray for you, Pastor Reverend Emmanuel, but come in so that we can pray for you, kind of thing. Because
So no, I wouldn't change that. So here's the deal. One, whenever you change the ad or turn it on or off or swap out a picture or change anything in like the text or anything, it basically sends Facebook's algorithm into like a tailspin. Right. So it kills all the momentum that your ad has. Right. If you imagine like a train, like it just comes flying out of the gate and then all of a sudden you just slam on the e-brake and it starts and then you start it back up again. It takes a really long time for that to try to kind of get back up to speed. And it's hard for it to ever get back to the original momentum. So you don't want to turn the ads on and off whenever your pastor's not going to be there, not to mention all the people that you're missing out on reaching during those 2 weeks. That you could then reach even when he's back with broadcasts and those types of things. So I would always leave the ads on at all times. I wouldn't turn them off. And I don't think you need to change the ad or anything like that for different people, right? It's just, if someone shows up, you're just like, oh yeah, hey, man, pastor's out of town this week. What's up? My name's Ade and I'm preaching. Good to meet you, right? Like I'll pray for you after service. Like I think it's as simple as that. Because like we do, like our pastor is a big fan of giving away ministry. And so we always have different people coming in the pulpit and preaching and stuff like that. But we don't change the ads or anything like that. We just say, oh yeah, great. Hey, man, great. It was glad you got connected with someone from the church this week. Thanks for coming out so we could pray for you in person. Let's pray.
All righty.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely, man.
Jordan's on. He's driving.
Jordan Rowe, I was just bragging on you earlier, bro. What's up, man?
Yo, sorry, I'm driving, so I won't look at you. But you guys are good. You're good-looking people. I want to look at you, but I just can't because I'm driving.
Great point. That's a great point. No, go ahead, Jordan. What's your question, bro?
Well, a part of this is just we I don't know if this is the question here, for that. Like we've been so thankful. Facebook ads have been working. The ministry ads have been working so well. We're seeing some really phenomenal responses and continue to pray for people, seeing people show up on Sundays. I told Caleb the other day. We've seen now, I think, over the last couple of weeks, 5 people give their lives to Christ over this last bit, which has just been amazing. We're just so incredibly blown away. So I guess our next step is, and we're kind of taking that next step up from just being on the ministry ad and kind of engaging to the next level. I don't even know what that's called. I want to call it like a level, like a bronze or a gold level, but I know that's not right. I just feel like it deserves a different title. But we're stepping up to that different level. And I guess my question really is what are the next steps for us? I know we've got kind of an anniversary Sunday coming up and Easter Sunday. I know we're staying on the ministry ads. That's not going to stop. But just what's the next steps for our build to kind of build out? I don't know if that's for this call or for a different conversation.
Yeah, so we could probably have a more in-depth conversation, but basically we haven't really told too many people about this. But phase 2 is all completely crafted around discover your purpose. So we actually have a discover your purpose quiz that people can take. So literally, the cool thing is it changes the demographic completely of the people that you reach during the ministry ads. Now you're reaching typically kind of more of a high-level person, right? Especially like my man Caleb can tell you more about this, but it kind of goes back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like those like kind of bottom 3 levels are what's who you're gonna hit when you get talking to prayer requests and prayer needs, right? But when you really start talking to levels 4 and 5, people are looking for self-actualization and they're looking at purpose and become part of something bigger than themselves. Those people have the bottom 3 needs already met. So now they're looking for leadership opportunities. They're looking for a cause and something to get behind, and they're trying to find their purpose and their calling. And that's what phase 2 is all about, designed about bringing those people in. So it kind of changes the demographics of who you're reaching and who you're getting into the church and helps you build that leadership structure as well.
Super helpful. Yeah, well, then I'd love to have a part 2 on stuff like that, because that's where, because we've watched ministry ads work so well, it's just for us, it's the simple next step, just to be able to minister to more people and to use this method. So yeah, I don't think I have any current questions on the ministry ad right now. One note, I think Olivia was on here the other week and was asking you about subscribing people to a mini chat, and is that possible? You guys may know this. I discovered something. So whenever I'm responding to the ad on the comment section, I'll always like it. I'll reply and say, sending you a message and praying for you right now. And then what I'll do is I'll click on message and I put 3 little dots like an ellipsis. And when I do that, it somehow is triggering them into ManyChat. ManyChat is like subscribing them somehow. Guys, I have no idea. All I know is I do an ellipsis and then I do my voice text and I pray for them. And then what happens is that upcoming Saturday, they're getting the automatic, will you join me on Sunday message? I have no idea why. We were all ready to like send our own individual emails because they didn't press send prayer request. Yeah. So when you click 3 dots as a message, it's subscribing them. Maybe it's not a subscriber mini chat, but it's somehow initiating this Saturday automatic message that goes out at 10 a.m.
Wow, that's super helpful, Jordan. I had no idea. So are you...
Explain that again. Could you explain that again one more time? Because I missed it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's happening, you guys can even, I know you have access, but you can go on ours as well and look at it. So whenever the ministry ad, someone comments, doesn't obviously click the ad and initiate the mini chat, I'll go to that comment and I'll press like, and then I'll press and sending you a message. Then I click message right beside that, and I send 3 dots, just 3 period. Okay. And then once that's done, I then click on my messages in the Facebook, in the Pages app. And I click on comments, and now their name pops up, and it shows this little ad at the top. It clicks it. And then I literally go on my voice text, and I say, hey, Jane, Jordan, pastor, praying for you right now. Going to send you some information, see if you want to come. And they say yes, no, but no matter what, on Saturday, they then get that message from me. They get it automatic. It's happened 2 weeks in a row.
That answers Chris Wolf's question, doesn't it? Doesn't it help Chris?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to help everybody that's getting a lot of comments. So let me ask you this, Jordan, when you send the 3 periods, the ellipsis, are you sending that through the Facebook app, through Messenger, or are you sending that through Pages?
Pages. So when I click on Pages, I use almost everything through Pages. So somehow that's what it's doing. It's triggering it that way. And the reason why I did that, I just maybe discovered it because I was trying to not just tell people, like, I know you said pray for people even on the comments, but I've done that too. But I was like, man, if I can find a way to do a voice, but every time I would click message. So here's what I did before. I'd like the comment and then I click right to message, and it wouldn't let me do any audio. It wouldn't let me send any audio to them. So on the Pages app. So what I tested one day was I just pressed ... when I message, I don't know how to explain this. I clicked message on the comment, and then all of a sudden a little pop up opens up there, and now it opened up audio, and I would start praying. I've done that every day for 2 weeks straight, and last Saturday and the previous Saturday during the 9 to 10 o'clock, my name's Jordan, can you join me tomorrow? All those people got included in that message automatically.
Bro, wow. Okay, so I'll have Caleb reach out, and let's maybe set up a time where we can actually we'll just film you on like a Loom video or a Zoom video, and have you do that just holding up your phone, showing people, and then we'll just send that out to the whole group. That way everyone learn how to do that, because that's a game changer, bro.
Oh, it's huge. No, I was blown away because I was just like, I've got to find a way to get the voice text out there. And then when all of a sudden it just did it for me, Olivia was ready. I had all these messages starred. Wow. And she was going to go back and try to star everybody and send their own message. And it just did it on its own.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, bro, great job. That's going to be a game changer and answer a huge question that almost every church that we work with has. So that's huge, bro. Thank you for that. All right. So let's do this. And this was supposed to be a 30-minute deal. We've gone an hour here. So, man, let's pray and let everybody else kind of get back with their days here. Okay. Yeah, Chris, just reach out to us. You can reach out to Caleb here and we can get you hooked up, bro. All right. So, yeah, let's pray real quick. And then, man, we'll let you guys get back with your days. I know you guys got a lot of things going on. I think Caleb's, well, we've got another meeting here, so we'll get to it. All right, man, God, I thank you for every single person on here. God, I thank you for every single pastor that is laboring and doing Facebook ministry ads. God, that has given their time and their resources to this program, to serving the people of their city. God, I pray that you would increase their sphere of influence, that you would help them to pastor their entire city. God, I pray that you would bring people, laborers into their path to help with the prayers. God, I pray that you would bring leaders into their life to help create the leadership structure and the infrastructure to be able to grow. God, I pray that you bring the right creativity and programs to them to be able to help to continue to grow, God. But man, I thank you that everywhere the sole of their foot treads, they're on land that you've given them. God, I pray that no weapon formed against them shall prosper, but every single thing they put their hand to will. God, and I pray that you do exceedingly abundantly above and beyond all that they can ask or imagine in 2020, so that they don't even recognize their church because of the radical growth that they experience by the end of this year. God, we thank you. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Thanks for coming on here, guys. We'll see you guys soon.
See you guys.